Welcome to a brand new season of Scintillations, the podcast that explores what's now and what's next in consumers, culture, and the business of branding. This season, we'll be studying Swiftonomics. Join us as we talk to marketing experts, business leaders, and entrepreneurs about what makes Taylor Swift the best brand on the market. Listen in as we unravel the secrets behind her ability to capture hearts, minds, and market share, exploring what makes her a powerhouse of success. If you're a bona fide Swiftie, if you just don't get the hype, or you want to know what you can learn and apply in your own business, this season is for you. Now let's get started with your host, Erika first.
Hi, Amanda. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Hi, Erika. Nice to be here. I'm excited.
Why don't we get started by you telling us a little bit about you and what you do?
Yeah, my name is Amanda Halle. I am based in New Jersey. I was in New York for a long time, but made the long trip back home. I built, operated, consulted, and advised over 50 diverse companies, from startups to much larger organizations in HR and leadership development. And in 2021, I decided to start my own HR people leadership practice called Mindful Growth Partners, which is really, a forward-thinking consultancy dedicated to empowering business through fractional HR support, leadership development, and advisory services. And I really am committed to helping individuals, teams, and organizations really transform into future-ready and adaptive systems that are able to really thrive in all the changing environments that we are dealing with these days.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure you've been kept very busy.
For sure, yes. Never a shortage of need for change management and leadership development. So, yes.
Okay. And so today, actually, what you do, it perfectly aligns with the topic that we're talking about today, which is loyalty. One of the concepts I think that surrounds Taylor the most is her need and her ability to generate loyalty. She continues to work with people who have been with her since the beginning. She still keeps her parents around all the time. Her friendship with Selena Gomez goes back many, many years. The Haim sisters. She has a whole group of friends, her squad, that she keeps with her. And of course, Jack Antonoff, who is also the producer and the writer that she has been working with so much. And on the flip side, so she definitely has a penchant for keeping a loyal friendship group around and an artistic group. And we all know what happens when people are disloyal to her, because there are multiple songs about them. It's actually one of my favorite songs, which is "This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things." I love the lyrics on that one.
Yes, it's a great one.
But on top of that, she has built a following that is the Swifties, which exhibits such a degree of loyalty that I don't know that I have seen in my lifetime. I mean, I grew up in the Michael Jackson era, and I know my undying love at the time for Michael Jackson. But so I think it's on those same levels, but it's rare because you don't really see fanaticism like that. But like we were saying before, just in anecdote briefly, I bought tickets to see Taylor in Italy this summer. My daughter is coming with me, even though she is not a Swiftie. However, after seeing on the internet people saying oh, you should just go to the concert, even if you don't know her stuff, it's so amazing. And the Swifties coming out if you come to this concert and you are not a fan, just know that you have stolen the experience from someone. So she's now terrified of the Swifties, and we can talk about whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But there is a tremendous amount of loyalty. And one last anecdote before we get into that. She released, I don't remember what year it was, but I think it came out by accident. There was an 8-second audio that came off of her phone, which was essentially silent. But they listened to it so much that it ended up number one on the charts. Anything she does, they galvanize and organize to make sure that it is successful. And, now that I'm not in the group because, I'm a certain age, but I study it and I see it. They organize and they mobilize, and there are plans. And okay, guys, tomorrow at 9 a.m., remember to do this. And if you don't do it, it's like, are you really a Swiftie? Like, are you a fan?
Yeah.
What do you think? What about her generates this level of loyalty?
Yeah. I mean, it's a great question. I will kind of take it back to like my introduction to Taylor Swift and like kind of my journey with, you know, understanding what it meant to be a Swiftie. And it taps on nicely to your story. I have not always been a Swiftie, confession. I was invited to join friends at a concert in Philadelphia last May. There was an extra ticket and I admittedly paid $130 for it. So I'll probably be like shunned and also stunned for that too. But it was like, it was an experience. It was like an experience unlike anything I had imagined that it would be. And it wasn't just the concert itself. It was the lead up, right? It was like, what are we going to wear to this concert? What are we going to like adorn ourselves with, getting ready? Like what playlist are we going to play? Walking around Philadelphia and seeing all of the other, Swifties out in the streets and people just saying hi to each other. Then fast forward to the concert itself. And not only is she flawless, but the environment that she cultivates is really just this space of warmth and comfort and connection. And then she is a powerhouse, right? For someone to be able to perform for that length of time that she does, it's almost understandable that people are like, is she part bot, right? Because it's just wild. The experience itself and what it kind of creates from an emotional perspective in you as a viewer, as a Swiftie. And then also you create that with your group of friends and your community. And so it's almost like I read this book. Oh gosh, now I'm going to forget the name of it. But anyway, it's about kind of creating movements and the idea of to create a movement, to make something go viral, you have to make it so that it's kind of extensible so that it's something that you can take and build on and make your own. And so I think that she allows you to kind of take the pieces that resonate most with you, form your circle of friends around those, be able to talk about them, right? I mean, I think it's just, there's so many pieces to it, right? It's a very strategic, I think there's like a lot of planful strategy that goes into the way she creates, obviously her, her concerts, her events, her interactions with her fans. But I think it really creates this very strong emotional connection that you have and can build on with your own community.
Yeah. And I think actually to your point, the fact that she does bring 150% every single time, because I saw the concert on the internet before they took it down, and the coming from a production background, the amount of work and rehearsals and planning that goes into putting on a 3.5 hour show of that magnitude, where of course she has a supporting track so she can take time on and off, but that she essentially sings through the entire time, doing 3 nights show in a row and then taking only 2 days off, is mind-boggling. There's just so much hard work that if you know even a little bit, and even if you don't, you're just like, this is flawless, and everything is flawless. Every movement is flawless. We saw the movie and I was like, even the movie's flawless. There are no errors. So you feel really in the presence of something special because you know the person who's doing it cares so much. And I think that is one of the most important things, because she cares so much and that makes you feel respected as a participant. Now,
Yeah,
you can tell when
absolutely.
brands or companies are half-assing it and you don't feel respected, so you don't feel like you owe them anything, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she's flawless and she's also human at the same time. It's a balance that feels almost unachievable, right? Because she's so flawless, but she also is so relatable and warm and engaging. And I think to your point of preparation and all of the hard work that goes into it is all of that is in an effort to make sure that she is able to like be flawless and be a relatable human that connects with people.
Now, in your industry and what you work in HR, obviously loyalty is something that's important. What do you got, not your company, but in that field,
Yeah.
what are the activities or strategies that you put into place in the efforts of boosting loyalty?
Mm. Yeah, I think that one of the things that's always been incredibly important to me is community, right? And this idea of having your squad. And so I think back to my early days in HR and my first real kind of job in tech. I was second HR person at an ad tech company in New York. I had been in consulting for a long time, but I had never been in-house. And so I went in-house and I was like, I don't know what the F I'm doing, right? I've never done this before. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to pull together a group of other people leaders from other companies and bring them together and create a community of people leaders in tech. And so this was, I don't know, 2010, maybe earlier. But that group of people that I brought together, I leaned on for anything and everything as I was kind of learning my way into my role. And I consider some of them like my very best friends now. And so I think that the world of HR can be very lonely and it can be really challenging, and you can feel like you're kind of on an island in many ways. And I'm sure many other people in different roles can also feel this way in this environment that like we're living in today. But I think in HR specifically, because a lot of times you feel like you can't talk to folks about the stuff that you're dealing with. And so creating that community and having that squad that you can lean on is and has always been incredibly important to me. And I've joined different networking groups and part of a few now. And they are like my kind of lifeline and anchor in so much of the work that I do. And I think what creates like loyalty amongst the people in those groups is the space for like really like emotional connection and relationship building and kind of going beyond just the surface level of your role and the work you do. One of the things that I always say is small talk is not small. And making sure that you are, building in time for that just personal connection, because it's can make or break, I think, the loyalty that you have to people.
And so actually that was my next question about having loyalty, because she does tend to work with people who know her very well. She does have that tight squad. How do you think this is beneficial, especially in an industry that favors newness, newness, newness? Why lean on a core group of people?
Mm. Because I think that while there is novelty in the newness, there's also a lot of, I think, authenticity that comes with knowing someone and having loyalty. And I think that, I don't know, I will venture to say that authenticity wins over newness and novelty. I think that it's, you know, the experiences that we go through, the trauma that we deal with, being able to bond over those things and create and establish relationships, like keeps you tied to those people, right? Like I think of the way Taylor Swift has kind of gone through this whole journey from being a teenager to being a woman. And I feel, similar bonds and connections that you do for music, and the way that she has evolved there and the way that I have evolved in my career with the people that are in my HR communities. And I think that has created an immense amount of loyalty amongst us.
Yeah, definitely. So thinking about brands, right? And let's say I'm a marketing person and I'm looking at Taylor Swift. Let's say I sell toothpaste, right? What can they do can a toothpaste garner the same kind of loyalty?
It's a great question. I think that it's for sure, because it's like, I think it's something that you use every day, multiple times a day. And so there is a routine, there's a connection, there is a purpose to it. And so I think that the more that you tie it to experiences, to routine, to those things, the more that like people become loyal.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Is
no,
that
absolutely.
silly? Yeah.
So if ultimately it comes down to some sort of insight and understanding about the person, because just from what we were saying and what you were talking about before, that really the root of this loyalty is that you've been able to create a moment of shared belonging, shared connection. Like, I see you.
Yeah.
And that can happen even in the most banal product
Yeah.
categories if you have a fantastic consumer insight.
Right. Right. And it's, the realness of it, right? Like, oh, I, drip toothpaste all over my shirt. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of people that would be able to really understand and bond over something silly like that, right? But I think finding those real and authentic moments in it too. Like, at the Chiefs game last night. So everybody this morning is all watching all the clips of like Taylor and Travis after the game on the field. And my friends and I last night have a group text thread where we are like all watching all of these videos. And my one friend was like, "Did you see Taylor?" Like Travis said to her, "Is it okay if I kiss you? Like the camera's right there." And apparently she like mouthed, "I don't give a F." And I think it's that authenticity, like, how do brands like really find their authentic voice and be as real as possible? Because I think that is what creates connection and loyalty. Um,
Yeah, I like that. So find an authentic voice, creates that sense of shared experience. I think another thing, that was what we were talking about at the beginning is that Taylor is of course she's strategic. Of course, the desire is to make money. It's not charity. But she loves what she does so much that she is so much about delivering an amazing show as opposed to I want your $300, the $300 in your pocket to pay for. Now, that is, of course, a byproduct of the original, but she really does like, if you're going to pay $300, I'm going to make sure to give you something amazing. And I think sometimes companies can forget that a lot of marketing plans that I see are about how do we get the money? And the money, in my experience, is a result of having delivered a fantastic experience, a great product. Like, oh my God, these people get me, take my money. And then I don't care how much it costs because if you've solved a problem or if you made me laugh or we connected on some kind of level, then the money is inconsequential. It's like why people,
yeah.
like, oh, it's too expensive, but then we'll shell out $1,200 for an iPhone because there's an experience there and a connection there. So it's really like if you show that you care, that is actually to me the first and foremost, that you have respect for the person who you want to engage in your brand.
Yeah, I think that care too creates this emotional bond and connection. It's like this person cares, they feel deeply about kind of their work. They really respect this experience that they're creating. And you want to be a part of that because it really is it it feels good. It's putting off good vibes and good energy and there's positivity, right? I think all of those things, all of those like strong emotional feelings create that care and connection.
Yeah, almost like you have to give loyalty to get loyalty.
Mhm. That's so true. Yeah.
And so now, since this isn't a Stan podcast, but I do want to look at both things, there are also numerous stories of, Taylor expecting loyalty, demanding loyalty, cutting people off that demonstrated themselves as being disloyal. But there are also other entertainers, I think it was Katy Perry, if I'm correct, who called her Regina George in Sheep's
Mhm.
thing. They eventually made up. And, there's a he said, she said on that. Is it an act? Is the loyalty an act?
I don't, I don't believe so. I don't think that you can turn it on and turn it off. I think that, you are like part of your ethos is nurturing relationships and creating long-term bonds and connections with people. And I think there are going to be people who are, you know, cynical and look at the negative side, but I don't think it's an act if I were to say.
So
What
maybe
do you think?
no, I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, I think she's one of the most strategic people I've ever examined in my life. And I think that not everything is necessarily exactly as it seems, but
Mm,
it's also couldn't possibly be an act because it's just so 24/7. She's so
right.
constantly in the light that there's not even time to be a different person at home.
Yeah. Yeah. You would think it would come across in other ways. You would get clips that would expose this other side, and it just
Yeah.
doesn't
And I also feel
exist,
that
right?
there's just so much attention on her, like all the
Yeah.
time. And she says this too in The Man that she's being judged differently than everyone else, and which is one of the reasons why she does make sure she does everything ethically, make sure she does everything the right way. So I don't know if she didn't have
Yeah.
as much scrutiny if she would, but we know that she does. So
Right. She lives her life that way. That's kind of what she knows too. It's
yeah. So then I'll just do last question. So let's say you are advising someone, you are a mentor to someone coming up in marketing who has to develop brand positionings and communication campaigns or whatever. And the brief is to loyalize people to your brand. What would you tell them are the 5 steps that they need to take?
so I would say first step is understanding yourself and what you can deliver, right? What are your core competencies? What is it that you can bring to the table? Understanding too, kind of what's what is your audience? What are their challenges? What is important to them? I would say, like doing a little bit of a stakeholder analysis of like what are their values? Who are they loyal to? And what are they scared of losing? Right? Like just getting a clear understanding of them. Then I would say it's about experimenting, trying different ways of like engaging with them based around those things, right? That they care about. And 4 is like kind of creating connection. It's like, you know, spending time with them. And then I would say 5 is when you can start to actually think about monetizing. I think of all those other steps you want to do first in order to really understand what you have to deliver, understand who your audience is, like build the relationships and experiment with things that might be possible, like products or offerings or services. And then I think then like monetization will come once you kind of have a deep understanding and you've built out your community.
Yeah, and I think that's actually such a really valid point because in almost so many rooms that I sit in now, monetization is always the first question. How are we going to monetize this? And
Yeah.
it's much more about playing the long game. Be useful first, be
Right.
reliable first, and then ask me for money. you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like, even in dating rules, if I think you're just trying to get something out of me, I'm definitely not going to give it to you. But I love that, with the monetize last. Deliver first,
Yeah.
monetize last.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be hard to do in practice because obviously, but I think if you are patient, it will pay off.
Yeah, there's definitely, I mean, that's another thing we have to remember is we're looking at someone who's been building this, over the last 13 years. So it's not an overnight success.
Yeah.
She has always been semi-successful, but this level of enormity has been a long process.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. deserving of it.
Yes. So I'm very excited because I am going actually to see 2 concerts this year. So I'll report back at the end.
I'm coming to Europe. I'm going in France.
Oh, I'm going to France too.
Are you going to the Lyon concert?
No, I'm going to Paris.
I'm going to Lyon.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here with me today. This is fantastic.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Scintillations. If you've enjoyed listening to us, please subscribe, rate, and review. It helps us share our learnings with more curious and interested people like yourself. See you next time.